For those select few that are already initiated, you should already know what's coming next. And for those of you that aren't, just chill. So we're going to get to the other stuff here in a minute, but what I'm always trying to get everybody to understand is everything is vibration. Patience, grasshopper. If you ever smiled yet today, I think it'd be alright to do so right now. Right now. About that time for you to open up your ear and let me crawl into your mind. One time. That's epic. Everything is vibration. Just vibe. What it was. Y'all already know who it is. And y'all tuned in with priceless knowledge of self. And this right here, this ain't nothing but some cosmic insight. And what this also is just another deep dive into the intricacies that are you. And what I mean by that this time is this right here. This will learn something about the major aspects between Saturn and the Ascendant in your natal chart. And understand that I said major aspects. That means I'm talking about conjunctions, oppositions, trines, squares, sextiles, and inconjunctions or quincunxes, which is what inconjunctions are also referred to these days. That means I'm not talking about your T-squares. I'm not talking about your kites, your Star of David, your grand trine, your sesquadrats, your biquintiles, your quintiles, your semisextiles, or your semisquares. Not yet. See, first, we got to master the basics. And it's a good thing you got me. And so before we get into the aspect, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to tell you a little bit about Saturn. I'm going to give y'all a quick breakdown of the energy that comes along with it and how it might affect you. Then after that, we'll talk about the Ascendant and how significant that point is in the chart. And then after that, we're going to bring it to a culmination and eventually a climax. And fortunately for you, you tuned in with one of the coldest closers in the game. So without wasting any more time, let's get this thing cracking. So Saturn represents hardship. It represents discipline. It represents where we might be holding ourselves back in life, or where the universe might be holding us back a little bit so we can catch up on some karma. Saturn represents where we're just going to have to work a little bit harder to obtain the things that are coming to us. But once we get them, we got them. All right. Saturn represents our fears. It represents our sense of duty, our sense of responsibility. Saturn represents the places in life where it's just going to take a little bit longer for us to get it. But once we get it, we got it. All right. And so the Ascendant, this is the start of the chart. This is the point rising in the east when we were born. All right. And a lot of people would say that this is the mask that we put on, but I don't think it's that. I think it's our outward personality. And I also think that the Ascendant is the vehicle that we use to get where we're trying to go in life. And a lot of time where we're trying to go in life revolves around that midheaven, which is square to the Ascendant. That's the highest point in the chart. And you can never forget where you came from either. Okay? Because that's the lowest point in the chart. That's the IC or the Natal. All right? That's the fourth house cusp. The midheaven is the 10th house cusp. The IC or the Natal, that's the fourth house cusp. All right? The Ascendant is the first house cusp. All right? It's ruled by the sign of Aries and the planet Mars. It's where shit gets cracking at. All right? This is where it all begins. Okay? Now, opposite to the Ascendant is always going to be the 7th house cusp or the Descendant. And that's the place where we meet others in the world. All right? And that axis of the Ascendant and the Descendant is how we clarify ourselves through relationships. And any planets and aspect to that are going to indicate the types of people and the types of relationships we seek, as well as how and why we seek them. All right? So to put it into perspective, the Ascendant is the vehicle that we use trying to get where we're going. And a lot of time where we're trying to go is the 10th house. Where we came from is the 4th house, or the start of the 4th house is going to be that IC, the MC and the IC. And who you want to take with you is the 7th house cusp or the Descendant. All right. And that just kind of puts it into perspective for you real fast. Now, when we're talking about Saturn being conjunct to the Ascendant, man, the main thing to understand about folks with this one is life is serious business for them. Straight up. And that's because they were born feeling responsible, and not just for themselves either, but for other people and circumstances, and sometimes for circumstances and people and situations and problems that they have nothing to do with whatsoever. And that's just what it is, man. It's because they've always felt like they were the one that had to take care of everything in their life, because they've always felt like they were the responsible one, man. And they've always kind of took on a sense of duty since they were little bitty kids, man. And I'm sure that's honorable and shit. But you also got to understand that it can easily get to a point where it's too much and it causes way more stress than it's worth. So they're going to have to learn how to stop taking on the world's problem before it wreaks havoc on their health and their quality of life. And unfortunately, that's much easier said than done, because with Saturn having such a dominant influence on their personality, they ain't never going to be the type of people to just be skipping around and whistling and shit, period, anyway, man. Nah, they're going to spend a great deal of effort trying to stay on point, or at the very least trying to appear that they're on point in life. Because, man, for some reason, they just have a deep fear of looking foolish to other people that causes them to hold back from expressing themselves a lot of the times. Plus, they're so used to having to be the motherfucking adult in the room that their inner child operates like a motherfucking 44-year-old father of 4. For real, man. And, you know, while there might be safe and productive, I want you to understand, it's a long way from fun and fulfilling. And it's going to take time and maturity for them to ever realize that they're holding themselves back in life by being so worried about what might happen or what could happen. And, hey, man, it's going to be a lifelong struggle, and it'll take time for them to loosen up. And then slowly but surely, man, they'll start putting themselves out there more, which will certainly help their confidence and kind of keep away that depression that builds up. But it ain't never going to make them be the life of the party or anything like that. I don't ever want y'all to get that twisted, because that just ain't them. Not with Saturn conjunct to the Ascendant, man. And that's fine, man. As long as they're being practical and cautious instead of being worried and stagnant, they can live a good life right here, man. It's just about being responsible without being fearful and finding the balance between security and spontaneity. And it's also about learning how to relax and be on point at the same time and handle business without being a motherfucking dick about it. For real, man. Because at the end of the day, you just got to understand that life is hard enough on its own without a motherfucker trying to walk around on stilts with a stick up their ass. All right? So loosen up and live, man. For real. Then when we look at Saturn being opposite to the Ascendant, on the other hand of this, man, this is where we're going to encounter those individuals who take their relationships so motherfucking seriously that they have a hard time expressing their true feelings to the people that they're involved with. And it's just kind of like their concept of service and duty is so strong that it kind of tends to form the basis of nearly every close interaction that they have in life. And, you know, when they do open up with people, they kind of tend to do it with motherfuckers who can be more than a little bit too critical or controlling, because they're really looking for somebody who has the discipline and resolve that they feel like they lack in life. And that can be rough, man. Plus, if we're just going to be honest right here, man, you know, most of them would much rather trade passion and romance for something their limited perspective views as real and thinks will work. And man, that in itself is going to become a harsh lesson where they're going to end up being loyal to a situation or a relationship way longer than it was loyal to them. And fuck a bunch of that. Fuck a bunch of that, man. Having Saturn opposite to the Ascendant means that they're going to learn the hard way how to take responsibility for their own life. Because once they can do that, hey man, they'll be able to start looking at relationships a lot differently and realize that their own fears and negative mindset have contributed to some of those issues that they've had in those relationships or the lack thereof in their lives. Straight up. So with this, it's just going to take time to develop things, you know, that are healthy and things that are going to, you know, be enjoyable, because you're way more focused on having something that works and protecting your insecurities than you are in having something that's full of passion and love that might be, you know, inconsistent. All right. Then when we talk about Saturn being trine to the Ascendant, this is where it gets good. For real, man. Because this is where we're going to see people who are naturally hardworking and self-disciplined because they feel responsible for everything that they do. And they know that everybody else ain't. Okay. I want you to understand that. And because of that, they usually try to work by themselves. Okay. And I mean, can you blame them? Can you blame them, man? But see, the thing is, the way that they handle their business in life, it ain't going to go unnoticed. So whether they like it or not, people are going to start relying on them, and they're never going to disappoint because they just have a deep need to be somebody of merit in order to feel worthwhile in life. And that means that they're going to be people who deliver. And that's just what it is. Their sense of responsibility doesn't fuck up their life right there with that trine. It's integrated, and it ends up bringing mastery and things in life that a lot of people probably would quit before they're able to achieve in their journey. And then the problem with Saturn being square to the Ascendant. Oh man. This is where we're going to run into people who are way too hard on themselves because they're just carrying around a lot of issues from their childhood that is just directly stunting their growth in life. Plus, you know, they're extremely shy and they have a hard time putting their best foot forward in certain situations. And they also don't feel like they deserve the best either. So they often end up going after their second choice instead of just, you know, going after what the fuck they really want, man. For real, man. And that ends up being rough a lot of the times. And it's going to be a lot of harsh lessons learned, man. That's really some bullshit of the highest order when you think about it, man. And, you know, it just comes from a weak ass self-sacrificing mindset that's really just a fucked up way of perpetuating their immense shyness in life. Nah, we ain't doing that, man. With this square right here, people are going to have to learn the hard way that they only get what they allow in life. So they need to allow themselves to live and enjoy it. I don't think y'all hear me though. And then with Saturn sextile to the Ascendant. Oh man, This is where we're going to get people who can only fully relate to others when they feel good about themselves, which in turn is fully revolving around them feeling productive in life. Okay. So they're going to do anything that they can on their end to show that they can be relied upon, and their patience and determination will pay off, and people will eventually see and recognize that about them. But just understand that unlike with the trine, it ain't automatic. It ain't automatic. You're going to have to put some work into it. And lastly, when we come to Saturn being inconjunct or a quincunx to the ascendant, this is where we're going to see people who have a hard time expressing themselves as freely as they would like to, because they feel like they've never been able to access their true selves, which in my opinion is just a direct result of them being raised in a household where they had to fit into a box that they didn't fit into in life. So this is just about getting to know their self in a hard way. In a hard way, man. And in doing that, building the confidence they need to be comfortable in their own skin. And it ain't going to be easy. It's going to be a lot of harsh lessons learned. But that's all right. Because the beautiful part of it is, just because you built like that, you don't have to build like that. And what I mean is, we all have all this energy available to us. What you do with it is what you do with it. And even beyond that, it's not about what you do. It's about how you do it. And that's some priceless knowledge in itself. And there's been some priceless knowledge of self. Y'all should have already hit the like button, but if you haven't, do it right now. And understand that it's not for my ego. It's for the algorithm. My ego don't need no stroking. I two-hand stroke that on my own, baby. All right? It just helps me expand my platform, y'all. And plus, I know I went in, because that's what I do. And if y'all are interested in the astrological readings whatsoever, you could hit me up in the comments below, but I just direct you to my email, which is mr.turner1300@gmail.com. All right? And the same thing goes if you want some merch. But understand that I'll sell you all the merch you want. And that's cool. All right? And you'll probably look all right in it. But this type of swag that I got, it's got to be in you and not on you. So let me put it in you.